Hi, I'm Chuck Colson with this week's 2-Minute Warning. This weekend, millions of Americans will celebrate Memorial Day. We'll go to parades, display the flag, visit national cemeteries and ceremonies at the local VFW, and of course, attending a cookout. But this particular Memorial Day has an interesting connection to another observance, the 150th anniversary of the beginning of the Civil War. You see, our Memorial Day holiday traces its roots to the enormous conflict, the great tragedy that claimed the lives of more than 600,000 Americans, more than any other war. The very first Memorial Day observation was said to be held on May 5th, 1866 in Waterloo, New York. There, residents honored local Union veterans. But actually, many localities, north and south, claimed to have celebrated the first Memorial Day. Across the country, towns would pick a day to tend to decorate the graves of fallen soldiers, which is why until the early 1900s, the day was commonly referred to as Decoration Day. As we honor our nation's war dead this weekend and commemorate the Civil War this year, I think it's a good thing that Americans will be asking important questions about the war between the states. The ultimate question, of course, is simply this: was the Civil War worth it? After all, the Union was preserved and the viciously evil institution of slavery was eradicated. But at what cost? The South was devastated for decades. In some respects, the Civil War introduced the horrors of modern warfare. The enemy's economy and his civilians became targets, and the advent of the rifle, coupled with obsolete military tactics, led to catastrophically high casualty rates. As I mentioned, more than 600,000 Americans killed. No doubt many of the lost would have said, yeah, the price was too high. Many, but not all. Perhaps not even most. We all would have preferred another way around that terrible conflict. But there was no other way. Looking at it back over 150 years, it becomes easier to see that, yes, the war was worth it. Surely the millions of men and women and children who were freed from the chains of slavery would have said so. Surely the cause of justice and freedom was victorious, not only in this continent, but around the world. Can you imagine what the world might have looked like today had the Union been shattered forever? A mere 71 years after the start of the Civil War, less than a lifetime, Adolf Hitler took power in Germany. Would the Nazis have conquered Europe, Africa, and even North America? Would Japan's fanatically racist regime have enslaved all of Asia? What price freedom? Freedom is purchased with blood. We Christians certainly know this because it's Christ's blood poured out on the cross that redeems us. And certainly the families of our military men and women who have sacrificed their lives for others know the precious cost of freedom. This week on Breakpoint, I'm going to be talking about the Civil War, about states' rights, about the church, slavery, about the view of the South, which had some merit, and about the proper role of government, among other things. Some of the things I am going to say will surprise you. Some would call my views controversial. But what I have to say, I hope and pray, will come from a thoroughly biblical perspective. Please tune in or join me at breakpoint.org this week for my thoughts on the Civil War. I'm Chuck Colson. That's this week's 2-Minute Warning.